Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about Superman. The big question on everyone's mind is, does this movie live up to the hype? Yes, absolutely yes. This is the best Superman film ever made, period. I have no doubt about that. Before I move on, remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up. It's a great help. Also, feel free to check out my Letterboxd. I'm very active over there. I post many movie reviews and I post many lists as well. Superman was one of my most anticipated movies of this year, and boy, it delivers. Superman is a rousing, inspirational, hopeful, and an insanely fun time at the movies. It is also a film that combines the best things about the previous film renditions of Superman into what is now my definitive Superman movie. It has the joy and optimism of the old school Christopher Reeve films. It has the big, epic action akin to that of Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. It's a big, epic, hopeful movie. It has tons of optimism for society. It has the great struggle and rise above adversity that you want out of an epic superhero film like this. I thoroughly loved it. I want to give a bit of a history of my experience with the past Superman films. My first Superman movie was Man of Steel, which I saw when I was 12 years old in the theater, and I loved it. Granted, I was 12, and I didn't know much about movies, and I mostly cared about cool action sequences, which Man of Steel definitely delivers on. But I then let the internet corrupt my opinion on the film, and I became a hater of Man of Steel for many, many years. I eventually decided to rewatch it, and I became a fan again, despite its many faults. Like, dang, the Jonathan Kent death scene is stupid as hell. I was extremely disappointed with Batman v Superman, and it is not a film that I enjoy rewatching. I think it is honestly an actively poor film. It has its moments, but generally speaking, I don't enjoy it at all. I did quite like the Snyder cut of Justice League, but generally speaking, I'm not a fan of Zack Snyder's work. I've only enjoyed 3 of his films, 300 being the third film that I enjoy from him. I don't like the Snyder style of filmmaking, and I've always found him to be overly indulgent in his storytelling. I don't like how he does visuals. I tend to find his style very ugly. That's an unpopular opinion, but it's how I feel. I'm going to be called a shill because I'm not overly positive on Snyder stuff, and I really love this new movie, but whatever. To be honest, I'd love to get paid to love this movie. All that said, when James Gunn took over DC as the new co-CEO, hope had finally arisen, for me at least in the future of DC. The DCEU was a complete mess, inconsistent quality, no collective vision, and more often than not, Warner Brothers had a very reactionary decision-making process. I like quite a few of the DCEU films, so I'm not a complete hater, but yeah, it was not a consistent or necessarily a completely quality-filled franchise. And I have loved every comic book film that James Gunn has made, which gave me a ton of hope. The Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy are obviously incredible movies, and The Suicide Squad was my favorite film from the DCEU. So yeah, I was kind of predisposed to love this film. So yeah, I am kind of a big James Gunn fan, and I have also been really impressed by his decision-making behind this new universe as the studio head, specifically with his philosophy on scripts and individual movies being as good as they can. And James Gunn understood the assignment because this is now the definitive Superman film in my opinion. David Corenswet is Superman. This man embodies everything that is great about the Superman character. A complex, relatable, hopeful, and aspirational figure who struggles with his sense of morality. He has many frustrations with the world, and he's tested physically with opponents that are as strong as he is. He represents what we should strive for, but is also very relatable in his struggles. This is a Superman that, while he has great power, he can be beaten down. This is not the invincible perfect being who never loses. He does lose. He loses both physically and mentally. Lex Luthor really challenges him in this movie. Yet, he's not depowered at all. It's just a simple matter of having many opponents that match his strength in this film. Corenswet has a natural charisma that really fits this character alongside his chemistry with all of the other characters within the film. He and Rachel Brosnahan's Lois Lane have incredible on-screen chemistry. Snyder's versions of Lois and Clark had the chemistry of a brick wall. Amy Adams and Henry Cavill were both solid in their respective roles, but they had absolutely no interesting dynamic together in those movies. Here, Lois and Clark feel like they have a real relationship, and some of the best moments are simply the dialogue scenes between them. They both love each other very deeply, but they have different worldviews that conflict in many ways, and it creates a little bit of strife between the two characters that they have to overcome. Lois questions his involvement in foreign affairs. This Superman is incredibly frustrated with how the world is reacting to his recent actions. He partakes in a foreign military situation, he saves lives, and he temporarily, at least, prevents a major war, but the world is questioning his motives and morality and the politics behind these actions. Meanwhile, he simply views it as just helping people and doing the right thing rather than a political move. This is the basic setup of the plot of this film, and that conflict remains throughout the entire movie. And it provides a really interesting story alongside a really solid commentary on how people doing basic kindness has become politicized nowadays. This is a movie about basic human decency and kindness. This will piss off a lot of the right people, supposedly, and expose certain people's backwards worldviews. James Gunn's recent comments have only proven me right here with how the usual suspects are getting upset about the film's basic message of kindness. It really says more about these kinds of people and them simply exposing themselves as hateful morons more than anything. Superman is a film with very blunt politics, and it's not even remotely embarrassed to showcase that. The usual suspects will probably be very pissed off at this aspect of the story, but it really only enhances the message of the movie. Along with his actions being questioned, Superman has his fundamental worldview that he's built up from childhood challenged with a certain reveal in the first act. I won't spoil what that is, but it shatters him. And it leads to an amazing scene later on in the film with Papa Kent on how the basic fact that this shatters him to his core really showcases how strong of a person he is, and it really showcases his sense of morality. To round out the main trio of characters in this movie, Nicholas Hoult is now my new favorite depiction of Lex Luthor. He's incredibly intelligent, incredibly arrogant, and he's a genuinely real challenge for Superman, and he's also delightfully hateable. This is the kind of villain that you love to hate. He chews up the screen. He is so good in this movie. His motivations come from envy, self-delusion, and a twisted sense of morality. It's very simple, but it works very well. His screen presence is terrific. He's petty, he's cruel, and he's cunning. His intelligence genuinely challenges Superman. Both that, and he has sidekick villains that work very well as the physical challenge to Superman, with Ultraman and the Engineer. And the Engineer has some really cool looking powers, and the visuals with these powers are really well done. This is a movie that feels lifted straight from the comic pages. It's got a big kaiju, an alternate dimension, a Green Lantern, a dude literally named Mr. Terrific, which he was awesome in the movie as well, and a bright, vibrant color palette. It is not ashamed of what it is at all, and it wears its heart on its sleeve. The film simply delivers on the entertainment value and action. There are some really awesome action sequences in this film, particularly in the finale, which, funnily enough, kind of nearly has as much destruction as Man of Steel's finale did, yet this movie's destruction won't cause nearly as big of an uproar like that movie did. I think that's just kind of funny. It's not a criticism of either movie, I think it's just an interesting parallel. Other than a few shots here and there of some questionable CGI, and by here and there I mean very rarely, this movie looks impeccable. It's just interesting that there is occasionally some questionable visuals because both in the Suicide Squad and his Guardians of the Galaxy films, the effects are basically flawless. So on the very rare occasion of some very strange looking visuals, it does stick out a little more because of his past movies. Some of the camera movements during the fight scenes are wildly creative and unique. Not everyone will vibe with how the camera moves in certain action sequences, but I really enjoyed it. The third act is big in the way that you'd want a Superman movie's conclusion to be, but it never removes itself from the heart at the core of the film, which makes the finale genuinely rousing and inspirational to watch. Corin Sweat delivers a magnificent speech towards Lex Luthor that kind of blew me away in the finale. I should also mention Crypto. Crypto was awesome. He's obviously a very adorable dog, and he acts like a very chaotic dog as well. He's very funny, and the moments throughout the film made my audience have their heart swell. And he also has an incredible payoff moment in the finale that basically made me laugh to tears and made me nearly cheer and clap in the movie theater. It was awesome. It was so satisfying. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's a completely perfect movie, but it's pretty close, to be honest, for a comic book movie especially. I would say that despite some pretty fantastic pacing all around, it does not feel like it's 2 hours. It moves very quick. The movie could have maybe used about 10 to 15 more minutes to flesh out certain relationships and maybe give some other characters that didn't have time to shine their moment to shine. Generally speaking, the movie does have quite a lot going on. It very tightly focuses on the lead trio of Clark, Lois, and Lex, which was definitely the right decision, but it also leaves some of the more significant side characters a bit cast to the side. Namely, for me, I wish Perry White and Hawkgirl had more significant roles. I did love Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, though. Basically, everything he said was gold, stupid haircut and all. And I did want to see a bit more of the Clark Kent side of Superman, which wasn't really explored all that much. That's really it for any real issues I have with the movie. The movie's pretty fantastic. I absolutely loved Superman. Is it my favorite movie of the year? I don't know. Probably not. Not right now, at least. Mission Impossible 8 might still be my favorite. Sinners was awesome. It's definitely top 5. And Thunderbolts blew me away. I'd probably say Thunderbolts on Superman are the closest in my best of the year list. So I don't know where I would rank it out of the movies from this year just yet, but it is a very satisfying, rousing, and a completely delightful movie that had me grinning ear to ear for the entire runtime. I would also highly recommend seeing this in IMAX, mainly because it was entirely shot for the 1:90 to 1 aspect ratio, and I can't wait to see it again. We have a very solid July for movies with this, and ideally Fantastic Four is fantastic, which I'm even more excited for that movie than I was for Superman. I'm really excited for Fantastic Four. That'll do it for my review of Superman. I highly recommend it. Remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up. Stay tuned for some upcoming reviews and potential ranking videos. I hope you all enjoy Superman as much as I did. Okay, bye.
If it is to be said, so it is.